Seeing vulnerability as a strength, seeing it as an opportunity for growth is going to enable you to gather the courage to ride this wave of transition in a way that enables you to stay above it instead of seeing it as a weakness. Hey there, welcome to another episode of the Power in the Pause podcast. How are you guys doing today? Welcome back. I am so grateful to have you here with me today. And if you would do me a major favor, and please hit those 5 stars and leave a 5-star rating for this podcast so that more people can tune in and find this particular show. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you are not already following me on social media, please do so. My Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn handles are all Wendy Page Sterling. So go find me there. And I appreciate you being here with me today. I very much appreciate you bringing me on your journey. And I'm going to bring you into the one that I am going through right now, which is another major life transition that is happening in my life. And that has to do with my oldest son moving to college across the country. And so today's episode is all about transition and more specifically, finding courage in those moments of transition. And what I have learned through a lot of transitions in my life, whether that was going from single to married, to having children, to my divorce, to losing my mom, to leaving corporate, to becoming an entrepreneur, closing down my first entrepreneurial business and starting a second one. What I know is that transition, just like taxes, are inevitable. So it doesn't matter if we choose to embrace or resistant, it is inevitable. It's going to happen. And it is always a challenging experience because it is one that we go through having never gone through it before. And what I would like to talk through with you guys today, really as I'm navigating this for myself right now, is how it is that we can find courage in these moments of transition and really use them, or rather leverage them as opportunities for growth. And so what I have learned over the course of my life is that transition, by its very nature, is really uncomfortable. I don't love transition. And yet I know that what is on the other side is always something incredible. But what I don't like about it is that it is disruptive. It disrupts my status quo. It challenges perceptions. It pushes me out of my comfort zone. And as I mentioned at the top of this episode, I have been through a lot of transitions, as I'm sure those of you listening have as well. And this one that I am currently going through, and as I'm recording this episode, it is happening in a matter of days, is my son going off to college across the country. And this transition has been filled with a whole slew of emotions. It's incorporated emotions of excitement, of joy, of pride, as well as a whole lot of sadness and a ton of uncertainty. And a transition of this kind is not just impacting my son, but it's impacting me and everybody in his life as well. And so what I want to talk to you guys today are kind of the steps that I'm honestly going through myself as I am trying to embrace this moment in my life, knowing that I've done this 1,000 times before, and I'm putting together an episode all about it for you. So the first step that we get to take is acknowledge the impact that the emotions are having on us as a result of this transition. And it is okay to feel a range of emotions. I mean, I had a friend ask me today how I was doing, and I was like, well, in this moment, I'm okay. If you had asked me an hour ago, I was in a puddle of tears. So whether it's joy, fear, anxiety, relief, acknowledging how you feel is the first step in finding courage. And so the emotional roller coaster that I am on, have been on for quite some time now, for at least the last month, has been quite the ride. And what I have been talking about for many, many weeks is just allowing myself to ride the coaster, to let the emotions ride, feel through me instead of brushing them aside, because it is what is going to make this transition period that much easier, and it will enable me to begin to adapt to the new normal of my life. I went through this in my divorce, and that first year that I was separated, I tried to fight back every single emotion that was coming up. I would typically default into anger, and it would only make things worse. And what I knew was that the shortcut was feeling through the emotion. So that is what I am here to tell you from a decades worth of doing this and teaching it, that that is the fastest way, is through feeling through. And embracing the unknown, right? The unknown is what is creating these emotions for us. And it's the only thing certain in transition is the uncertainty. But if we allow fear to take over, we are going to just go down a rabbit hole that we are not going to come back out of. And so, what I invite you to do alongside me is to embrace the unknown and see it as a blank canvas, as something that we get to create something new from. So, looking at this, instead of being, afraid of my son moving across the country, shifting that into opportunity. So, in order for us to really find courage in transition, it's going to require us to shift our mindset. So once we've worked through and get through these emotions, we then get to focus on what it is that we stand to gain. What my child stands to gain by going off to college. You see, when I stand in a place of what I'm losing, that is where the emotions live. That is where the fear sets in. But what I can tell you is that, the fears that I have around, now going from 2 kids to one, the fear of not being connected to him on a daily basis, like all of these are just fears. Like there is no evidence that is telling me that I'm not going to still talk to my son, that I'm going to lose our connection, that it's going to be different. That's for sure, going from 2 to 1 child. But what I can tell you is that there is an opportunity for both of us in some really new and exciting ways. So I invite you to shift your perspective and think about that. Now, being able to transition your perspective is also going to require us to really go there. And what I mean by there is vulnerability, going into those moments of vulnerability, because it's in those moments that we really find our strength and our resilience. And so the next point that I want to make about the transition period that I am in, and whatever transition it is that you're going through, is that seeing vulnerability as a strength, seeing it as an opportunity for growth, is going to enable you to gather the courage to, to ride this wave of transition in a way that enables you to stay above it instead of seeing it as a weakness. So as I share what I'm experiencing, my fears, my emotions about my son going to college, I'm starting to realize that I'm not alone. There are people in my community, there are people that are responding to me that have either gone through this, are going through this, and they're sharing their stories. They're offering support. They're providing me with encouragement. They're giving me their wisdom by telling me what it is that they went through, or what it is that they had done, or what to really expect. And by me being vulnerable, instead of when people say, like, are you okay with me saying, oh yeah, I'm fine. I'm not hiding behind that, like, this really sucks. This is a really, really freaking hard period of my life that I am not, I am, it's not something that I'm excited about. I'm working through the emotions. And so I get to be vulnerable with the people in my life, because I know that vulnerability is where I am not only giving myself the courage to talk about it, but I'm also giving other people to have the courage to step into their emotions in the same way. And so what I know is that when we are going through these transitional periods is that we are stepping into a new normal, a new way of living, a new way of being. And I know how daunting that can be. God knows that when I lost my mom, it's like, oh my God, how do I do life without my mom, without my person that I call every day? But what I've been able to do is to really shift my perspective. I worked through all of these, different steps that I'm talking to you guys about today. And it's an opportunity for us to really step into, sort of the next point that I want to make, which is really about redefining and rebuilding. As I adjusted to life without my mom, as I'm about to adjust to life with my oldest son being at college, I've had to learn how to, redefine my role, right? I've had to learn how to see myself as me and not just, in the role of mother that I think so many of us fall into. And it's really, having my son go off to college and, even when I lost my mom, it's been these opportunities for me where I've been able to sort of rebuild a connection to myself, my self-care practices, really being able to step into a new definition of what it is like to have a son that is on his own, that is an adult, that's going off to college, and just a reminder to myself that transition can lead to really beautiful transformations, not just for me, but for those around me. And I know that transition is not easy. God knows I'm living through one right now as we speak. And it's something that is constant in our life. That is definitely something that I have learned, that with every transition, with every wave, that there is something amazing and on the other side. There's possibility and there's growth, and it takes courage. It takes finding the courage in these hard times that are going to grow you exponentially. And what I can tell you is that your ability to navigate them with grace and resilience is 100% within your power. And so I invite you that whatever transition it is that you're going through, whatever major life transition, whether it's a child going off to college, losing a loved one, going through a divorce, being diagnosed with an illness, finding out news, losing your job, whatever it is, everyday transitions gift us with the power to have gratitude and grace and to rise through the storm. So I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I appreciate you working through these steps with me as I am on this journey yet again of transition and building up a new courage muscle within me with my son moving off and across the country. So I hope that today's episode resonated with you. Perhaps you know somebody going through a transition that might need this episode. I encourage you to forward this to them. You never know what it is that they may hear that is going to be a light wherever it is that they are in their process. Thank you guys for tuning in. You know that with every single episode, I am here to gift you guys with finding your power in the pause. And I appreciate you taking that pause with me here in today's episode. Don't forget, you are way stronger than you think, and your courage is within reach, I promise. Sending you all so much love and light always. Mwah. Bye, everybody.